Hey guys, I'm gonna be honest, I tend to lean heavily towards VR multiplayer games just because I find it a bit more engaging, especially when you're playing with your friends or family. So I don't play single player VR experiences all the time, but Yupitergrad is one of those single player games that I kinda regret not playing sooner. So Yupitergrad's Quest version arrived back in January. It's also available in Viveport, Steam, and PlayStation. Since then, it's been updated with new levels and now supports 120Hz refresh rate. Now, in case you don't know much about the game, let me start from the beginning. It's a first-person puzzle swinger that provides a combination of environmental puzzles and skill-based action where you become a Russian cosmonaut responsible for maintaining what appears to be an abandoned space station. And it's filled with rather large and dangerous obstacles that can either generate you, and more often than not, some of these challenges leave the players with a small margin of error. Now, for me, the main elements that stood out is the gaming mechanics. It's actually a real joy to play around with, plus the unemotional, sarcastic Russian guide that is talking definitely adds to the game. I think it lightens the mood as you're trying to avoid getting through these obstacles like these spinning spikes of death here. So I think the narration adds a bit of playfulness and it's a welcome contrast to the game. When it comes to the mechanics, it's surprisingly pretty simple. You're wearing a set of these trusty plungers that are attached to a rope where you can shoot a suction cup only on specific panels. Now, I mentioned certain panels because you definitely need to know which panels to target for and which ones to skip by, because they developed a color scheme in the game. The blue panels is where the plungers can be attached to and swung from, while the rest of the panels are pretty much inoperative for the player. So you must develop a game plan around these blue panels, but once you get the hang of swinging around, the motions can get pretty fluid. Now, swinging is your main way of moving around the space station, so there's no walking or running or flying or anything like that. It's all pretty much using your plungers to swing around the station. But you do have these mini rotors along the side of your plungers that can help you move around, but only for short distances on the ground. However, the main purpose of these things is to help you navigate underwater areas, or you can actually give yourself a little momentum while you're swinging. But I think generally the control schemes are pretty simple and just really easy to get a hang of, but it does take some practice to master swinging around the corners and going through tight areas, like when you're going up a shaft with the spinning blades right next to you, or these rolling spikes. Even if you just grazed it a little bit, you have to start the level again. But once you get a rhythm down, the game starts to feel pretty fluid. And I want to point out, I didn't get any motion sickness or anything like that, but of course that depends on the player. I'm sure some have experienced some motion sickness, but the developers did a great job to help mitigate the chances of having motion sickness. Now, visually, it has a cel-shaded art style, and you know when it comes to the quest, that style usually works out well, but of course it's not without careful decisions about art direction, so it's not easy. I definitely love the bold outlines and the simple shapes with the pop of vibrant colors that really shines throughout the environments. I think it just all works, and this style of art really suits the game's tone. As far as the soundscape, it's a bit monotone, but I think the game deliberately pushes the fact that you're alone in this large space, left swinging around the halls of the station. However, I couldn't help but feel a bit lonely at times, and maybe I'm a bit more sensitive to this because I'm just used to playing multiplayer games, but there are some points in the game that are a bit more upbeat and lively. Now, once you finish the campaign, there's not much of an urge to jump back into the game and play it all over again, but it has a time attack mode where you can compete for the fastest time in a series of 30 obstacle courses. Trying to master this is something that can draw players back into the game. So when it comes to time attack, it has loads of replayability because you're always trying to beat your best time. Plus it has leaderboards where you can compete with everyone else, which gives you more of a reason to come back. In fact, it actually reminds me of the game Stride, where it has a similar mode where you're competing with time. And I'm also wondering, what if they threw in multiplayer mode? What would that look like? How would others interact with each other? Maybe in a game of tag, like something similar to Gorilla Tag. Plus, the game Stride recently mentioned they will be introducing their approach to tag, but it's called infection mode. So it would be interesting to see if this game can do something related where we can maybe use these plungers as a way to move around in the game of tag. Now, the game is overall well executed, and the mechanics of the game I personally enjoy, along with some fairly decent spatial puzzles. So if you like short playing sessions and things like competing with others on leaderboards, this is probably a game that you should look into if you haven't already. Now, I do like the campaign mode, but I find the time attack a bit more engaging, and honestly, I spent the most time in there. But if you're looking for a deep storyline in the game or a mix of different movement mechanics, this is probably not the game for you. However, for what it is, I think it's executed and priced pretty well. Alright guys, that's all I got for now. If you liked the video, press the like button and consider subscribing. Talk to y'all later.